The topic for today's webinar, 10 Maxims of Formative Assessment, will be delivered by Professor K. Ram Narayan. Before I hand over to the speaker, let me share with you a short background information on today's topic. Assessment is one of the most frequently spoken topic among educators because assessment is one among the important factor that determines learning among our learners. It is unavoidable truth that it is the assessment that drives learning. Assessment is integral to the teaching learning process. Assessment facilitates student learning and helps to improve instruction and can take a variety of forms. Assessment is generally divided into three types. That is, classroom assessment is divided into three types. One is assessment for learning, which is always called as formative assessment. The next one is assessment of learning, summative assessment. And the third one is assessment as learning, which is aimed at metacognition and lifelong learning. High-profile educational research reports claim that in competency-based medical education and training, formative assessments with effective feedback facilitate and enhance learning. Therefore, a need for longitudinal and continuous approach to formative assessment in medical education is very important. In this context, there exists a lot of opinion among educators on what should be assessed, how to assess, who all should be involved in the assessment process, where and when and where the assessment should take place, what kind of tools should be used, etc., etc. So our speaker for today, Professor K. Ram Narayan, will share his thoughts and experience on the concept of formative assessment and the 10 maxims of formative assessment with their implications in medical education. Professor K. Ram Narayan need no introduction, but it is a customary and my duty to introduce our speaker to our audience. Professor K. Ram Narayan was the 5th Vice Chancellor of Manipal University, now known as Manipal Academy of Higher Education, from 2010 to 2015. He is currently the Chancellor of Manipal University, Jaipur, Rajasthan, and a Professor of Pathology at Melaka Manipal Medical College, Manipal Campus, India. He is also the National Coordinator Pathology for the National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning, NPTEL, a Government of India project. He was one of the early recipients of the ECFMG Foreign Faculty Fellowship in Basic Medical Sciences and a short-term fellowship in academic leadership. He is the recipient of Bloomberg UTV Award for Outstanding Contribution in Education. He has conducted more than 600 faculty development programs in India and its neighboring countries. Most of his scientific publications pertain to the field of health profession education, the recent ones being Covidopedagophobia in medical education, and the next one, 10 maxims for out-of-class learning to outclass the academic challenges of COVID-19, concept maps in teaching, training, testing, and thinking in MedEd published, 10 maxims for creating a safe learning environment in advances in physiology education. He is a pathologist by training, an educator by conviction, and a teacher by instinct. JIPMER can take pride in that he is an alumnus of JIPMER National Teacher Training Center, that is NTTC, and was trained at NTTC JIPMER over 3 decades ago. With this brief introduction, I now invite Professor Ram Narayan to deliver his speech. Welcome, sir.
Greetings to each and everyone. Thank you, Dr. Jayaprakash Rajan, for the initial remarks and introduction. I will straight away start off by sharing the slide, and I will now share the screen. So greetings to one and all, and I will begin where I began my journey in medical education way back in 1985. I attended the National Teacher Training Center program at JIPMER in 1985. That was the beginning of my journey in medical education 35 years ago. Looking at this group photograph, you may not recognize me because it is 35 years ago. But here I am. The difference is that today there is no growth on my head. And I'm reminded of what Jawaharlal Nehru, Jawaharlal, the name of your institution, when Jawaharlal Nehru commented once that during the Indo-China war, the land that China has occupied has no value because nothing grows there. Immediately an opposition member told Panditji, Panditji, you are totally bald. Nothing grows on your head. Does that mean your head has no value? I thought this is something that we have to remember. We cannot always say that if there is no growth, there is no value. I will begin with my dedication to my mentor, Dr. A. Krishna Rao. He was the Dean of Kasturba Medical College, Manipal for 20 years. And then he headed the Department of Medical Education as the first head of Department of Medical Education from 1985 to 1999. It was under his tutelage that I grew up, and I was given the initial mentoring, subsequent mentoring in medical education. I remember Professor Krishna Rao for two specific reasons. The first reason is that he was the one who sent me to JIPMER to undergo this training. He was the one who said, please go attend that, come back and do something here to help teachers in their multiple roles. The second reason I remember Professor Krishna Rao most reverentially is it was he who was talking about formative assessment in the early 1990s. Almost 30 years ago, he was talking about formative assessment. We never understood, we never realized the significance of it. He was talking about it. He was far ahead of his time, and he was talking about formative assessment in the early 90s. Today, in 2020, we are doing a session on formative assessment. We are talking so much about formative assessment. So it is for these two reasons I pay my homage, I pay my tribute, and pay my respects to Professor Krishna Rao. The 10 maxims of formative assessment, which we are going to look at today, will look at these areas. We will first try to grasp the concept of formative assessment. We'll appreciate the role of assessment as a learning strategy. All this time, we have been looking at assessment as an evaluation strategy. We will recognize the 10 maxims that form the bedrock of formative assessment, and then we will try to see some differences between formative and summative. Some years ago, I went to a class. I was taking a series of classes in cardiovascular system. For my 7th class, I gave them a surprise class test. I went to class and said, I have brought 20 multiple choice questions for you to answer. Please answer them. The entire class, 145 of them protested. They said, no, unfair, you didn't tell us. I said, please listen to me. This relates to the lectures I have taken in the last couple of weeks. Please respond. These are multiple choice questions I have prepared based on what I have taught you. They said no, they agitated, they protested, they made so much noise. The entire class of 145 medical students were in absolutely, they were up in arms. I said, okay, let's come to an agreement. I have taken the trouble of bringing these MCQ questions. Let's come to an agreement. Please don't write your name. Please don't write your roll number. Don't put your identity anywhere. You may look into your notes. You may consult one another. You may discuss with one another. You may make as much noise as possible. But please answer these multiple choice questions. The entire mood changed. The students came, grabbed the MCQ papers I had brought. They answered. They took about 25 minutes. There was a lot of noise. There was a lot of commotion. They filled it up and then they returned all the MCQ papers to me. I didn't say anything. I just kept it aside. Another 15 minutes, I quickly reviewed a short topic, and then I met them 2 days later. When I met them 2 days later, I told them, thank you all for answering the 20 multiple choice questions I gave you. I am concerned. I'm concerned because almost all of you went wrong in question number 5, question number 11, question number 16. Why? I'm a little concerned. How is it that the entire class has gone wrong in question number 5, question number 11, and question number 16? Then I took those 3 questions and told them this is what was asked. I'm really surprised. Is it because I didn't explain myself well? Is it because you misunderstood? Is it because of some lacunae in the way things were communicated? I really don't know. Then I also said I compliment you because all of you, almost the entire class, got the first 3 questions right. I'm so happy because the first 3 questions are fundamental, very basic, and the entire class got it right. I'm extremely happy. Anyway, I will review all the 20 multiple choice questions one by one, and I went through the entire MCQ paper explaining what are the common mistakes they have made, what is expected of the question, and what are the common areas where they have faltered. What was the purpose of my doing this surprise class test? The purpose of my conducting the surprise class test was no doubt an assessment. There's no doubt about it. It was assessment. But the assessment that I did was quite different. This assessment was formative assessment. It is to enhance the learning, to reinforce the learning, to reiterate the learning, to recollect the learning, to clarify areas which needed clarification. When there was a misunderstanding, I got an opportunity to clarify. This is what we call as formative assessment. Formative in the sense that we understand formative sometimes in the context of summative. In relation to summative, we understand formative. Now let's quickly see how summative and formative are seen against one another. Assessment happening at the end of the learning, meaning you have taught a course or a semester is over. Then you do an assessment, you say pass, fail, distinction. That is summative. You are certifying. That is assessment of the learning that has happened during the semester or during the course. In contrast, assessment happening during, like what happened, my surprise class test happened during the learning process. That happened, it is the learning was still continuing. It happened during the learning process, and that is formative. And that is assessment for the learning, for the reinforcement, for the recollection, for the reiteration, and for the clarification. That is formative assessment. So basically, this is the difference. We'll delve further into this. As Dr. Jayaprakash Rajan has said, assessment of learning is summative. Assessment for learning is formative. And of course, he also includes the third component, assessment, as learning. We are now going to look at what are the maxims. Maxims means principles. Maxims means statements, truths, certain fundamental truths about formative assessment, which we will see one by one. So just as we say, maxim is generally a sentence, but we will take the key words in a sentence and we will see what constitutes the bedrock of formative assessment, the maxims. The first maxim, formative assessment reiterates focus on learning, not on grading. And I need to take you to a quote. Learning is not a grade. Get the focus off the grade. Focus on progress, on critical thinking, on creativity. We as teachers are so obsessed with mark and grade and distinction whenever we do assessment. Take that grade and mark off. When I did that surprise test, I did not even give marks for the papers. I was not interested in who went wrong. I was interested what went wrong, why things went wrong. That is formative assessment. I was not interested in giving marks. I was interested in finding out why things are going wrong, what went wrong, why it went wrong. That is the first maxim. When we look at formative assessment, please remember, in formative assessment, we look at learning not as a grade. We are looking at grading as a requirement later, but not at this stage. At this time, when we do formative assessment, we want them to learn. And that is the first maxim. We have to de-link, and to de-link grade from assessment is not easy for any teacher. We always think exam means marks. So that's the first thing, very difficult for us, but let us start with something which we need to be aware of. The second maxim, formative assessment facilitates active learning. When I told the class that you please answer these multiple choice questions, you talk to one another, collaborate, cooperate, work together, work as a cohesive unit. They made noise. They suddenly became active. And in that activity, there was learning. And that's why it is said, if you simply tell me, I will forget. If you teach me, I may remember. But if you involve me, I may learn. When you got them involved in that class situation, when they were debating, discussing, disagreeing, and then of course they were also committing on the MCQs, there was some learning. In that noise, there was learning. In that commotion, there was learning. So we as teachers should always endeavor to involve students. Involving students in the learning, I think, is critical, and we all know this. We are only reinforcing this, and formative assessment gives that opportunity. Formative assessment encourages feedback. We all have heard about feedback, but remember, learners need endless feedback more than they need endless learning. We are so concerned, we are so gripped with learning, making them learn. We forget that we need to give feedback. We forget that. And it's good for us to remember that feedback is as important as the learning. The more time you spend in feedback, the time that I spend reviewing those 20 MCQs, giving them feedback on what went right, what went wrong, why I am happy, why I am concerned, that is the value that you give for the learning. And if you can earmark some time for giving feedback, that is the time when students are really going to learn. When we look at feedback, remember, there are 4 components to feedback. Feedback must be constructive, not destructive. It should not destroy his or her self-esteem. It should be descriptive, meaning it should not be judgmental. It should not be evaluative. Feedback must be corrective. It should help a student to correct himself or herself. And very important, at the end of it all, feedback must be reflective. It should help a student to introspect. What can I do better? How can I do better? Reflection. I'll talk about this in a moment again. But remember, when we give feedback, let us keep these 4 components. That it should be constructive, it should be descriptive, it should be corrective, and it should be reflective. Keep this always in mind when we give feedback. The 4th maxim is formative assessment engenders feed forward. Oh, what is this feed forward? I never heard of this feed forward. As I move forward, I will tell you what feed forward is. It is very important to have a feedback loop where you are constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. What is this feedback loop and what is this feed forward? Feedback is not just standing alone. There is something that happens before feedback, that is feed up. Feed up is when you give them instructions, expectations made explicit. When you tell them this is what we expect you to do, when you make your expectations explicit, that is feed up, giving upfront the instructions. After they have performed, you give feedback. This is what went right. this didn't go so well. This is what went wrong. That is feedback. But we don't do the third, feed forward. When you repeat this, when you do this procedure again, when you do this activity again, what are the changes that you need to make? What are the things that you need to modify? What is it that you need to alter? Feed forward is going one step ahead. Unfortunately, we teachers are stuck up with the learning so much, we don't give feedback. Feed up we may at the time of the course commencement, but we almost never give them feed forward. Feed forward is going a step ahead and telling them, next time when you repeat, next time when you do the same action or procedure, what you need to change, what you need to alter, what you need to modify. This is from the teacher's point of view. From the student point of view, we call this as reflection in action. When the student is actually performing, he is thinking. That is, he is reflecting on what he is doing, which we want him to do. After the action is over, he will reflect on what he has done. And then make him reflect for future action. Next time when I do the same thing, what will I do differently? What will I do better? At the end of it, feedback is intended to allow the student to reflect. If feedback doesn't cause reflection, feedback has failed in its objective. So remember this, we have to ultimately make the student introspect on what he or she is doing, and he can do better for the future. Maxim 5, formative assessment happens fast. Immediacy requires teachers to conduct formative assessments as soon as possible after instruction, before the pressures of life outside the classroom flood in to engage the students' attention. Please remember, we are teaching students, and those students are being taught by so many teachers. I teach them something today, and I go back after a month, and I tell them, I taught you this last month. They'll say, did you teach? Who? You. Forget about what you have taught. They will forget that you have taught. This is the situation, because the students have so many other things happening, so many other teachers teaching, so many other subjects and so many other things to attend to. So what I'm trying to say is, if formative assessment has to have its impact, it must be done as soon as possible. Soon as possible means as soon as possible after the learning for it to have its impact. And for that, we must remember this forgetting curve. Oh, what a contrast. You must remember this forgetting curve. Forgetting curve is basically saying that when you learn something, you tend to forget most in the first 24 hours. At that time, you revise. Do a formative assessment. When you do formative assessment within 24 hours or even earlier, they will suddenly wake up because it is something that they have learned more recently. When I went back to them with some questions, MCQ questions on topics which they have learned in the last 1 week, some of the topics were actually in the last 24 hours, but as close as possible. What we are trying to say is the formative assessment must really have its impact. Try to do it as quickly as possible. If you have a long time lapse, there is every possibility that they will forget. So we have now seen the first maxim, formative assessment, the focus is on learning. Second maxim, it facilitates active learning. Students become active. In activity and involvement, there is more learning. Formative assessment gives an opportunity to focus on feedback. It also gives us an opportunity to go forward with feed forward, telling them what they need to do so that they can do that better next time. And it has to be done as soon as possible, as soon as it is feasible for you to do, so that what you have taught is recollected or recalled within a reasonable time. So these are the 5 maxims we have seen so far. As you can see, the 5 maxims all start with F. Now let's look at maxim 6. Formative assessment needs to be frequent. Learning through frequent responses can be motivational, informative, and corrective. Intermittent is a beautiful word. We talk of intermittent rain. Similarly, intermittent formative assessment will have an impact on learning. You give an opportunity for the student to relook, rewind on what has been done. And as a teacher, we should incorporate as many experiences as possible, involving them with different activities in formative assessment that will enable them to recollect. So formative assessment has as an important maxim the frequency. And this is highlighted. If you look at this, we tend to forget most in the first 24 hours. The importance of booster doses. You boost once in the first 24 hours, another boosting, another boosting, another boost. You may think, if I have to do all this, when can I teach? If I have to go on boosting, 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 when can I teach? Yes, you have to look at formative assessment as integral to the teaching process, not to separate the teaching from the assessment. We often, as teachers, have tight, watertight compartments. Teaching and learning is over, assessment will happen. No, formative assessment happens during the teaching learning process. Don't separate the two. Assessment will happen. Assessment is integral to the teaching learning process. Maxim 7, formative assessment remains faceless. Faceless means anonymous. Anonymity can help give users a sense of participation without fear. When I went to class and said, today I will give you a surprise class test, the entire class objected, they agitated, they were in total disarray. Then when I told them, don't write your name, don't write your roll number, don't identify, the entire atmosphere changed. The entire mood in the class changed. They were happy to answer them. What happened was anonymity. The moment they knew that they will not be identified, they were so spontaneous. They could do what they wished, and they knew that they will not be identified. Remember, anonymity is one of the most determining factors in formative assessment. And let us remember this and remember that story of how I told them, don't write the identity, don't write your roll number, and the entire class became so responsive. Maxim 8, formative assessment provides flexibility. Flexibility means what? It is this. Assessment procedures to gauge students' learning should be as varied as the teaching strategies used to teach them. We always say we must use different teaching learning strategies. Similarly, formative assessment, there are several ways in which you can assess students. Need not be very elaborate. Today with digital approach, so many things can be done. Simple things can be done. Even as you're taking something, a class, you can say, here are 3 cards, green card, red card, yellow card. If it is true, you raise the green card and then you put up something. Assessment happening during the learning is formative. You see the green card, you are happy that they are with you, they have understood what you have. Most of the cards are green. Suppose you put up the next one, assessment for learning is formative. And then you see don't know, large number of don't know. Then people are confused, they need some clarification, they need some reinforcement, some reiteration. That is formative assessment. It won't take very long. In the 2-3 minutes, you will be able to use this to just fathom how well they have learned. That is bringing us to maxim number 9. Formative assessment propagates friendly environment. What does that mean? Students do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. John Maxwell made a golden quote here. We as teachers show off our knowledge. We never show them our concern. All the time we show off. I know this much. You don't know this much. Whereas we as teachers should show them concern. Students do not care how much you know until they know how. The moment you let them know that you care, they will come out, they'll become spontaneous, and they will give their best. So it's very important to remember that when we create an environment in a class, it should be non-threatening. There should be no threat. The student doesn't feel that he is threatened. The moment threat comes, he or she is not able to respond. As happened to me when I took the surprise class test. I said, only when I said anonymity, when I said no identity, they were so forthcoming. So please remember that forthcoming, that forthrightness, that spontaneity came because they knew they are not going to be identified. And I'm more interested in their learning, not so much who went wrong. I was interested in knowing what went wrong, why things went wrong. Maxim 10, formative assessment generates fun in learning. It is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge. We teachers forget that play is the highest form of learning. You give a toy to a young child, a new toy about which he or she knows nothing. The child will play with it, will fumble with it, will struggle with it. After some time, the child becomes very familiar, conversant with the toy, and then there is so much joy. Now, the child learned. There was so much learning. In that play, there was learning. Play is the highest form of learning. Just as a little child learns to play with a toy and learning happens, please remember, we too as teachers, can we make learning fun? Unfortunately, we always think learning must be serious. For two things in life, we always give a lot of seriousness. We say we should pray very seriously. We should learn very seriously. I'm not saying that you should not be serious, but what I'm saying is you can also be playful. You can playfully learn. You can playfully pray also. So it is important for us to remember, if you recall that incident in the class, surprise class test, the moment I told them, talk to one another, make as much noise as possible, discuss with one another, look into your notes. Please remember, there was so much fun, agreed, but in that fun and in that laughter, there was learning. So we have now seen the maxims of formative assessment. The first is focus on learning. Second is it facilitates active learning. Third is it is an opportunity for feedback. It's an opportunity for feed forward. It is fast. And then the next, frequent, intermittent, faceless, anonymity, flexibility, friendly, and fun. So these are the 10 maxims which undergird or form the bedrock of formative assessment. We have to keep this in mind constantly. Now, I will ask you, each one of you, to select one. I'm going to give you the list. You will have to select one maxim which you think, in your opinion, entirely your personal opinion, which you think is most important attribute of formative assessment. So what you need to do is to select one and indicate the number in the chat box. So you're going to see a number against each. You will have to indicate your choice. You will have to select one and indicate your choice in the chat box. Just put the number of your choice, one of them, and put it into the chat box. And I'll request Dr.
Sir, I'm following it up, sir. I'm following it up. Sir.
Yeah. How many have you got?
So far, 4 is leading, sir.
4.
4. Most of them have said 4, then 3. 4 and 3 are almost the same, approximately the same.
Okay.
Then many of them have said 10.
All
so
right.
leading is 4 and 3, 10, then comes 7.
Yes.
Then followed by the other numbers, sir.
Okay. What did I do just now? I'm asking the participants. I did a formative assessment. I spoke for about...
Some have said maybe all.
Oh, good. Yes, there's no doubt about it. I agree with you. I'm so happy that you mentioned that. Every one of these 10 will be important. Remember that. But I just wanted to tickle you with this question. Which one is most important? And from what Dr. Jayaprakash Rajan says, 3 and 4 are taking the lead. There could be others. And I am in agreement with you when you say all the 10.
Sir,
yeah.
1 minute, sir. Now 4 and 10 are equal. 45 of them have said 4.
4.
That is feed forward. And again 45, 10. That is fun. And 53 feedback. Most of them have said feedback. 3.
Okay, so feedback is there, feed forward is there,
Then
and
fun.
then
Fun. Then 7.
7, faceless, anonymity. Oh, good. Very interesting. Okay. I'm so happy that you chose. Sometimes you have to choose because everything will be good, but you will still have to take the best. This is entirely your opinion. There's no right, there's no wrong, but it's a lesson for us. And that's what we're going to see. This article was published. Just as you all said, all 10 are important. When this article was written, all the 10 maxims we felt were very, very, very important. So we submitted the article with all the 10 maxims, and we gave it in more or less this order. With, of course, we also gave a lot of emphasis to facilitation of learning, feedback, feed forward, and so on. When the article was published, it was published last year in 2019 in Advances in Physiology Education. The peer reviewers, this is the article that was published in 2019, 10 Maxims of Formative Assessment. My colleague, Dr. Prashanti, and me, we together published this article. It is very interesting that the peer reviewers said, we accept the article, provided you put one maxim topmost, foremost, paramount. And they said the most important, the single most important maxim for formative assessment is facelessness. And they said this should come on top. They said everything else is fine, but what makes formative assessment truly unique is the anonymity. As you have seen when I went for that surprise class test, how the mood changed. That was the vibrancy that came in when facelessness came in, when anonymity came in. You cannot do that in summative. Facelessness, anonymity, they said comes right on top. I'm not saying that your selection is wrong. This is entirely the peer reviewers' recommendation. And they said, if you do that, we are accepting. We immediately agreed. What are we to lose? We want the article to be published. The article was published, but they said this will come. This was the unanimous decision of the peer reviewers. I'm just telling you how people have viewed it. And it's also an opportunity for us to look at this maxim of facelessness. I'm not saying that what selection you made is wrong. I'm just saying it's a viewpoint. Facelessness or anonymity is possible in formative assessment, but impossible in summative assessment. Summative assessment is to certify, pass, fail, distinction, whatever. If you don't have identity of the student, how can you do that? So summative assessment doesn't give you the scope and the opportunity for facelessness. Anonymity is a unique feature of formative. It is possible, but you can have formative even without facelessness. That's also okay. But what I'm trying to say is facelessness is something remarkable for formative assessment. And that's what the peer reviewers said. So this is what I want you to remember. All the 10 are important. I entirely agree with you. But in that, please be aware that the aspect of facelessness is something that will simply take it to a different dimension when you do formative assessment. Let us now see what are the other major differences between formative and summative. If you look at formative, you can do it in bits and pieces, small units you have taught, small segments you have taught. That narrow segment is possible in formative, whereas summative will be for a chapter, several chapters at the end of the semester. So generally, the scope is narrower and more focused in formative. Summative will be a broader scope. As I mentioned before, formative assessment happens during the learning process. Learning is happening during, don't separate formative assessment from teaching and learning. Formative assessment is integral. It has to be built in. It is interwoven into the teaching learning process. It happens during the learning. Assessment is an instrument of teaching and learning which you are using. That is formative assessment. Here it is different. In summative assessment, it is happening at the end of the learning. Means there's no end to learning, I agree. But what I mean to say is, you have taught something for a semester. At the end of it, you want to see how much they have learned, how well they have learned, and then you have to say certify. You're releasing them into society as doctors or professionals. So that is also needed, but this happens usually at the end of the training or end of the learning. Aim of formative assessment is to monitor, to fathom how much learning has taken place. You don't really need to grade. I didn't grade any of the papers. I didn't give any marks. I was interested what went wrong, why things went wrong. That is formative. Whereas here, it is required because you're going to certify, you're going to say somebody has passed, somebody has failed, somebody has got a distinction, whatever. Focus of formative assessment is on the process of learning. Whereas in summative, product in the sense, at the end of the learning, there's a learning product. I want to see how much you're able to perform, competence, whatever you call it, but you are looking more at the product and how that product is performing. So the focus here is on the process of learning. Here it is the product of the learning. And by its sheer opportunity, formative assessment gives more opportunities because it happens during the teaching learning process. Summative assessment requires much more planning, organization. So many other factors have come in. So we may not be able to have so many summative assessments. So generally it's possible. Unfortunately, if you see, teachers hardly spend time in formative assessment. All the time our focus is on summative. We forget there's something called formative assessment. Let us spend more and more time on formative assessment. Professor Krishna Rao used to say this, please spend time on formative assessment, formative. And we were wondering, what are you talking? Today, 30 years later, we see the wisdom of what he has been talking, and we are talking that same thing today. The word staff, a mnemonic, STAFF, will help us look at the major differences between formative and summative. Here is a quote: making formative assessments fun with intermittent instructional initiatives implemented imaginatively will ignite students' interest. There are so many I's here, 7 I's are there: intermittent, instructional, initiatives, implemented, imaginatively, ignite, interest. This is a quote that you will find in our article. This is our own. We have shown you several people's quotes. We thought we'll share our own. And this is there in our article where we believe formative assessment has a role to play in teaching and learning. I'm now going to rewind and go back to 1991 when Scriven defined assessment. He said assessment in the broad sense, assessment that includes everything in general: systematic, objective determination of merit, worth, or value, to distinguish between the worthy and the unworthy, or the worthwhile and the worthless. Of course, no one is worthless. I'm not using it in a disparaging sense. But what I'm trying to say is, when we say somebody is worthy of pass, not worthy of pass, it isn't that. But in a lighter vein, it can be said the worthwhile and the worthless. Look at this definition. This was in 1991. Please relook at this definition now. In the light of all that we have learned about formative assessment, does this definition of Scriven include the component of formative assessment? We know that formative assessment need not always be systematic. Formative assessment need not be objective. It need not always separate the worthy and the unworthy. The focus of formative assessment is on learning. So this definition of 1991 given by Scriven of evaluation is strictly today not encompassing all components of assessment. And therefore, it's time for us to relook at it, reconsider it, and redefine it. Think about it, ponder over it, wonder about it, and come out with a definition of assessment that will encompass both formative, summative, and, as Dr. Jayaprakash Rajan said, also assessment as learning. If you encompass all three, then assessment definition will be complete. With that, I will, with that thought and with that posing of the question, I will stop and give time for discussion.
Yes, sir. Wonderful presentation, sir. There are many questions in the chat box.
Okay.
I'll read out some of the pertinent questions.
Yes.
Dr. Shivashankara
Yes.
has asked, can formative assessment be used for grading as well? Can we give some weightage for formative assessment in internal assessment marks?
Okay. I'm glad you asked that question. I'm so happy it came first and I expected it also. If you had not asked, I would have asked you, is your internal assessment an example of formative assessment? Answer is no, no, no. Because in internal assessment, marks carry forward to the final. Marks are carried forward to the final score. If marks don't get carried forward, if it doesn't matter in the sense that they can make the mistakes and it doesn't matter, then it is not counted, then it is. But if even 1%, even 0.1% of the mark, if it is carried forward to the final, it becomes summative. However, having said that, please be aware, when we conduct internal examination, internal assessment examination, please remember, it is summative because 5% or 10% or 15% may go to the final exam. But please remember, there is a formative component in it. In the sense, the student has a chance to get a feedback, student has a chance to learn, student has a chance to change for the final exam. So be aware that summative may have a component of formative. Just be aware. So to answer your question, no, no, no. 3 times.
Fine, sir. Thank you. Then the next question from Dr. Malatesh.
Yes.
If formative assessment is made anonymous every time, how to give individual feedback to student, especially in small group teaching?
Beautiful question. Beautiful question. If you want to give individual feedback, definitely you need to have identity. I'm not saying make it mandatory. I'm just telling you that opportunity to remain anonymous is there. But if you must give individual feedback, you must know who it is. Agreed. So when I say anonymity is a feature, don't ever think that formative assessment should always be anonymous. No, that opportunity is there for them to respond, for you to know the general polling in the class, the general trend in the class. For example, we did a polling today. We saw the general trend, 4 and 5 was, I didn't know who, but I was getting the mood of the class. I knew how many of you voted for this, more or less. I didn't want to know who. So if you have to give individual feedback, 100% absolutely on the head, you are right. It has to be with, you need identity because you get back to them and tell them this is what you need to do. Thank you for asking such beautiful questions. Any other question?
Sir, the next question is from Dr. Manoj Patki.
Yeah.
How to have balance between formative and summative assessment? How much weightage is given for ensuring learning for certification or pass or fail?
Okay, don't have to think about balancing the two because formative is part of the teaching learning strategy. The more formative you have in teaching learning process, the better because you're getting the students involved. Basically, involving students is happening in formative assessment. So you really don't have to worry about having a balance between formative. These are all just terms and words. For example, I give you this differences. I'm just telling you. See, I've given you these differences. It's all very nice. Pure formative, pure summative. Please remember that these are all things for us to understand. And let us not be so rigid about having this percentage should be formative, summative. Formative happens during the teaching learning process. And summative has to happen because ultimately we have to declare pass, fail or whatever. So that's why it's, to answer that question, yes, we really don't have to have a proportion or ratio.
And next question is from Dr. Nalini Malya.
Did he have another
manage time?
Question? One was, there's something else he asked. I thought there was something else in that question. The previous question.
How much weightage is given for ensuring learning for certification? That is pass or fail. So naturally, formative assessment is not
summative. That will be summative only. Summative. Yes. It will be summative.
Yes, sir. Then how do we manage? This is from Dr. Nalini Malya, sir. How do we manage time and at the same time manage to ensure everyone in the class gets the green card or get it right?
Okay. Today there are several ways to ensure. In fact, today with webinars, there is an attempt to have some sort of intermittent work. For example, in this seminar itself, we did one activity, one small activity. That was that I asked you to put into the chat box. It was a 45-minute seminar. We could have one or maybe two. Some activity must be there, but please be aware, in webinars too, we must build in. Otherwise, it will be, you don't even know whether they're listening. They may keep it on and they might be doing other things. So that's one. In classroom, at least, you can do that because it's very easy for you to carry always some green cards and red cards and yellow cards. It's possible. So in a face-to-face situation, it's much easier. But today, there are so many opportunities digitally but only problem is internet connectivity. If we had done a very more elaborate polling, then it would have probably taken more time because bandwidth and so many other factors play a role.
There is a same, I mean, you have already addressed this question, sir. Dr. Sunita Sinha, she has asked, please suggest some formative assessment methods during online lecture. I think just now you addressed this question.
All right. There is, okay. There are, okay. 53. In fact, there is an article, 53 interesting things to do in a lecture. Different things. But don't do all the 53 in one lecture because then you cannot do anything else. One or two you can plan. There are several activities which are possible online. And today, the net is flooded with activities during. The only issue that you have to keep in mind today, because of the bandwidth problem and issues, please remember everybody may not have that speed and they may not be able to respond. So if you're making that requirement, then it becomes difficult. But a few people have responded. Some sampling is possible. Yes, at least there's a break in monotony.
Then Dr. Charulada from Devraj Academy of Higher Education, Karnataka. Her question is how to create interest among students for formative assessment.
You don't have to tell them it is assessment. You can simply do it. Don't tell them we are now going to do an assessment. You simply do it as an activity as part of teaching and learning. Somehow we have a situation where all of us, we have come with this background and our previous experience, teaching, learning is over, assessment should happen. Let us weave in the formative assessment into the teaching learning process. A student doesn't know he or she is being assessed. It happens. So that is, in fact, that surprise class test I took was an assessment of my students, formative assessment of my students. They didn't know that they're being assessed. But when I found that almost entire class has gone wrong in 3 MCQs, I was concerned. As a concerned teacher, I said, I'm really worried that you people have got a wrong answer. All of you are going wrong. That means something's wrong with me. I have not taught you well. I'm concerned. So they really need not know it is assessment. Assessment is built, woven into the teaching learning process. That is formative assessment. Summative cannot be like that. Summative assessment has to happen at the end. So it's only a name that we give, but just have activities for students to learn.
Fine, sir. Then next question is from Dr. Janet Berlin-Raj from Mahatma Gandhi Medical College, Pondicherry. Nowadays, students have clear idea about formative assessment, so they tend to skip the module that is monthly test or so on, as this mark cannot be counted for internal assessment. How to tackle this issue?
Yeah, that feeling is there. See, when the student knows that it is not going to count, they may not care. If it doesn't count, I don't care. That's the attitude. But if a student wants to learn, and let the student know that you are genuinely concerned. I am more concerned about your learning. I am not concerned about your marks. Your being here is important for me. Your learning with me is important for me. My effort to share with you what I can. Once the teacher's sincerity and effort is seen, the student will come. I can assure you, the student will come. No attendance required, no marking required. The student will come once. This is what I meant by saying students do not care how much you know, as long as they know how much you care. That concern and care, if you show them, the student will come and they will learn. And if they don't want to learn, it's up to them. It is, but I'm sure it is ultimately we who can make the difference in their lives.
Dr. Jayapriya from Tanjavur Medical College. Her question is, separate hours allotted for feedback sessions while scheduling the classes is being done in any of the colleges that will ensure formative assessment. So she wants some experience from other people. Yeah, I don't know.
Feedback is only one component of formative assessment, and feedback which you get for a program feedback or individual feedback is an indicator of that's only one component, so that cannot be linked. Formative assessment is a very broad term, so feedback is just one. I agree, feedback is a very important component of formative assessment, but that's not the only thing.
Okay, sir. So then Dr. Alok Chandra Agrawal from AIMS Raipur. Can formative assessment be made objective? Of course, it's
yes, you can. What I did when I gave my 20 MCQs in the surprise class test, it was an objective examination. It was an objective examination. Objective in the sense, there was only one answer for each of the MCQs. It was an objective examination. So, really speaking, it is it can be objective, but need not always be. But you can make it subjective also, in the sense that it can be more informal, like what we did today. It was done very informally. More or less, we got a response. So that is possible. But objective, yes, you can keep it objective, but that's not important. The important is the discussion time, the reaction time, the feedback that you give. These are the things that are very important in formative assessment. So that's why I say it's part of the learning process. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Dr. Sandeep Kudisia from Oman, Sultanate of Oman, College of Medical and Health Sciences. He has asked a very lengthy question.
Yeah.
How do we do online assessment, formative or summative in present time, since proctoring is not possible? Next, open book exams with higher order questions and open-ended questions has not helped significantly and are not discriminatory, with most students getting full marks with cut-pasted answers and referring online search engines for answers.
Okay. The first part of the question is, how do we do formative assessment online, is it?
Yes, sir. Formative or summative? He is asking, he has included summative also. I think we can address formative alone.
Well, see, we did have some opportunities for any session. When you build some sort of an opportunity for interaction and involvement, it is a sort of formative assessment only. But on the issue of that open book exam, my what I want to say is that a lot depends on the way you ask questions. If the questions are allowing students to simply refer a book and answer, then it is not the real open book test. An open book test will look at principles, will look at concepts. They will have to work out. They may open a book and read everything, but still they cannot find the answer, because the question has to be conceptualized in such a way that the student must be made to think and apply his information. So if you look at the three things, that recall, interpretation, and problem solving, if the student has to solve a problem, he must have the knowledge, he must be able to interpret data, then only he can solve the problem. So the problem is in setting the question paper. The question has to be set in such a way that you may give him any access to any book or the internet, but unless he knows how to apply it, he will fail. So it requires much more effort and training of the teacher in setting open book examinations.
Dr. Joseph Philip Raj,
yeah.
The current thinking is learning drives assessment. How to incorporate informative assessment?
Okay. Hello, Joseph. So nice to hear from you, Joseph Philip Raj. He was my colleague in Manipal. Wherever you are, I'm happy to hear from you, and my good wishes. Formative assessment will drive learning. The moment you have an assessment built in, it will drive learning. You don't have to keep it separate. But having said that, we often say the student will learn only when it is tested. Yes, that's exactly what formative assessment is all about. You start giving small tests, little things, may not matter. But when they do involve and submit, then there is an opportunity for you to get back to them, give feedback, and participate. So really speaking, you don't have to make an effort to make formative assessment as a driver of learning. It will happen. The moment you put formative assessment activities, learning will happen. It will drive the learning automatically. It is in automatic mode.
Fine, sir. Dr. Raj Sood
Yeah.
has asked, the continuous assessment exams held in all medical colleges does not fit into either formative or summative assessment.
No, continuous examination, what you are saying is the continuous assessment examination that is conducted, if marks are carried forward to the final exam, it is summative. Now we have a situation where the continuous examination is a necessary requirement to proceed towards the final exam, to qualify for the final exam. The marks are not taken forward, but you have a situation where the continuous examination a minimum mark is required. That is summative. It is summative because it is determining, it's going to have his or her fate. That is the pre-qualification for going for the final exam. So that will also be summative. If you conduct an exam and say this has no bearing on your going for the final exam, it has no bearing on your internal assessment mark, respond. You will say there'll be casual. Doesn't matter. In that casual approach, in that commotion, there will be some learning. That is the mindset that we don't have now as teachers. We always think exam means mark. Mark means threat. Threat means tension. Now we have associated all these things together.
So Dr. Garima Sehal has asked you to provide some more examples of faceless formative assessment. Some more examples of faceless formative.
It is, there is any activity that you do for assessment, you can tell them don't give identity. For example, you give any activity in the class, and generally when we give an activity in the class, they are asked to submit. You can tell them beforehand, you work in groups, you can work together, you can ask them to draw a cartoon, write make an advertisement on some topic, something related to what has been taught. I don't need to know, but where you want to compliment and support and encourage positive feedback, when you want to give, it is nice if I know who it is. So that way it is okay. But if you think that it is to fault find, then is the problem. So any activity that you give, any assessment that you give can be made faceless. You can ask them to write essays and give it. I don't want to know who has written, but I want to know what you have written. And if I see a trend that you're making mistakes in essays, certain essays, then I can tell them, yes, majority of you have made a mistake, majority have done well. So that is what is the strength of facelessness.
So Dr. Ravi Arulanandam from Stanley Medical College, Chennai.
Stanley is where I did my MBBS, and I'm so happy that as Stanley fellow, we used to talk of a Stanley spirit, and that spirit will make you get drowned in that. There used to be one tank there. So that is, anyway.
His question is, how we are going to tackle the practical issues in implementing formative assessment in medical colleges with large intake of students?
Yeah, well, as you look at the new curriculum, there's a lot of emphasis on formative assessment. I think we as teachers must understand the formative assessment, what it is, and not to look at it as something that has to be done. It is just build it into your teaching learning. It has to happen. Basically, what we are saying is don't make any lecture or any presentation monotonous. There should be an opportunity to break. There's an opportunity to get students involved. And when you get them involved, you get, and I don't have that article here. There is an article by, I think it is Finley, Dipsticks to Fathom Student Understanding. 53 methods he gives to fathom student. I think that article is referred in our article. In the article that we have written, one of the references of that is given there. 53 ways in which you can check students' understanding. Finley, I think, Todd Finley, I think. And that is one of the references in the, you can find it as a reference in our article.
There is a question from Dr. Vinod Pallat.
Yes.
What should be
Vinod, how are you, Vinod? Nice to see you. Vinod was a faculty here again in Manipal, and he did his PhD. And today we do what is called as reverse mentoring. I learn more from him than he learns from me. So we have a situation of reverse mentoring. And I often tell Vinod you are, it's something serious. I'm talking about that, reverse mentoring. When you learn from somebody whom you have mentored. Yes, what's the question?
His question is, which components of formative assessment could be retained in summative assessment?
Nothing. Ideally, no. Only the learning must be retained. Nothing else, no marks. No component of formative should be taken or for the summative, because that is, it doesn't make sense. If it's going to count, it is not formative. So the learning that has happened in formative, yes, the component of learning that happens in formative must be retained for summative. I'll put it that.
So for decision making, it is not considered.
Really speaking, yeah, it is not meant to be used for decision making.
Okay. Then Dr. Priya Sasidharan.
Oh, yes.
In a group.
Priya did not get her response, so we had sent the link, and thank you so much for participating. Yes.
So in a group model of assessment, there tends to be passive players. How do we motivate them, sir?
Okay, being an architecture faculty, I guess you are looking at group work where people are involved in groups. Doesn't matter. Let them work cooperatively, collaboratively as a group. Somehow, when we function as teachers, we say, okay, group work, everything. But when it comes to assessment, we want to individually assess. Why can't we also consider the fact that you can assess them in groups? The entire group gets, the team wins, the group wins, and it is possible. Formative assessment doesn't need marking. We can give them appreciation. But when it comes to summative, again, if you want to give a group mark, it should be for all the people. They've contributed more or less depending on their ability. So when you give a group activity, let the summative mark will also be representing everybody in the group. Not just, you can't pick and choose. You got more, you will get less, you will get a moderate mark. So that's.
Again, one more similar type of question from Dr. Basant Manchari Nayak. Can formative assessment be used to certify a trainee for competency assessment if grades and scores are not required?
Okay. Formative assessment can be done before the summative assessment as a training, as a sensitization. It is done. In fact, we are doing a beam review on this. It's accepted, and we are doing a beam review on using formative assessment in OSCE. Prior to the actual OSCE, the summative OSCE, you do an OSCE to make them run through. No stakes. We say go through the entire OSCE 2 or 3 days before, just to get the feel of it, the hang of it, and the tension becomes less. And it's a good practice if you have this formative assessment exercise of objective structured clinical examination, and then you make them go through it subsequently. So it is not like making them do the same things. It is just that they get the feel of it. And the tension comes because of either fear or not knowing what's going to happen. Once they know what's going to happen, to a great extent, they become more confident.
There is a question from Dr. Shah Wasim.
Yeah.
Sometimes the peer pressure and parental expectations, the fun and joyful learning component gets eroded as the student progresses in UG years.
Yes.
What is the role of parents or guardians in building the career of MBBS graduates? Secondly, how to evolve methodology of anonymous feedback, specifically keeping in view the weak or average student?
Okay. Joy in learning is something that you must read that segment on fun and joy. In that article, we have explained something. Please read that. And there is a book by Leo Buscaglia that we parents always think there is a time for play and a time for work. We don't realize that play is learning. Work can also be work or learning. So we always say, now your playtime is over, now it's time to study. Can't study time be also play time, in the sense that we can make the student play and learn? Similarly, that study can also be joyful, need not be serious. It takes time and effort, but please read that article which we have written, the 10 maxims of formative assessment, that segment where we have very clearly mentioned about this, and that book by Leo Buscaglia. Leobuscaglia. Buscaglia. It's a very, it is called Love, Laughter and Learning. I think the book is something like that. Love, Laughter and Learning. So
there is a philosophical question from Dr. Sinhasan Sankappa.
Yeah.
He wants to know from you the definition of teacher.
I wish it was easy to define, but a teacher to be defined as the person from whom you can learn. Anybody, you can learn from anybody. And when you learn from someone, he becomes your teacher. You can learn from anybody. So I think the best way to look at a teacher is a person from whom you learn. So any person from whom you learn is a teacher.
And Dr. Atanu Bancha has asked, the questions we ask during the class hours, can it be regarded as formative assessment?
Good question. Provided you don't threaten, you don't tell them if you don't answer this question, you will not get attendance. Can you ask questions without interrogation? Very often we teachers interrogate. There's a big difference. When a student feels interrogated, he will feel threatened. Can you ask questions in such a way that the student feels comfortable to answer? We teachers interrogate. When you interrogate, they become intimidated. They will become very uncomfortable. Is it possible for you to get them to respond in such a way? Nothing lost. I will respond whatever I want because I have no fear. So to answer that question, it can be formative, it can be summative. Summative in the sense, if threat comes in, some element of fear comes in, then it will lean towards, though you may not give marks, but the moment you say, if you don't answer this question, I will not give you attendance, then of course, it is an element of threat there. So the intention is formative, but in practice, it will turn out to be summative.
So next question is from Dr. Saida Parveen. How many formative assessments should be included in first year?
No, I told you, don't really keep a count of formative assessment. Assessment should be part of your teaching and learning. Don't really worry about how many, though if they ask you to, which I think is very ridiculous, asking you to say how many formative assessments you have done, countless, innumerable, as many as possible. The more assessments you have, the more formative assessments you have, more learning will take place. But you have to remember that you need to also keep in mind the fact that you have to get things across and then you have to get them involved. Getting them involved. So really speaking, I don't think it is a wise decision to keep a count of formative assessment. If some regulatory body says keep a document, or if some institution says, I think it is not a right thing to do. Formative should be just built. It should not be viewed as something different from teaching learning process.
I think we can take couple of questions.
Yes. I think I've already exceeded. We have gone to 12:20.
Yes, sir. So just two more questions. Dr. Ambika Prasad Patra from Forensic Medicine and Toxicology, JIPMA. Yes. What are similarity or differences between ancient indigenous like Charaka or Sushruta era teaching methods, skills assessment, and the formative assessment used in modern era?
I don't know the answer for this because I have not read any of those books. And frankly, I don't know the answer. I wish, now that you have asked me, I will, I know about these books. I've heard about the books, but I haven't read them very seriously to be able to respond. I'm sorry, I can't answer that.
And there is another question from Dr. Amol Shende. Given the current curriculum, it will be difficult to maintain 10 maxims. We have to finish syllabus for first year in 10 months.
Okay. Well, when I gave these 10 maxims, I didn't mean that you should. I just gave you these as ideas, some signposts, some landmarks for us when we conduct. Now, if all the 10 maxims are there, your formative assessment will be such that it will be truly formative. So if you start counting all this and saying all the 10 are there, all the 10 are not there, it is not formative. It's not at all that. My idea was just to share a perspective, a viewpoint, which I just wanted you to see. And whatever possible, try to implement. But most important, understand formative assessment should be an integral part of the teaching learning process. Don't separate that from teaching learning process. Summative assessment will come at the end, I agree. End means at the end of the learning, but formative at least try to build it into the teaching learning. So the student will not know that it is assessment. It is just some sort of a continuum. The learning continuum is there.
Thank you, sir. Still, there are plenty of questions in the chat box. I don't know about your energy level.
No, I have no problem.
Okay, sir. Then can I go ahead, sir?
Yes, but, yeah.
Yes, sir. Dr. Hasini Abinash.
Yes.
When we give feedback, we also tell students all areas of improvement. Does that mean feed forward is a part of feedback?
Yes. Again, these compartments I gave only for understanding. Don't think that now feedback has ended, feed forward will start. If feedback is given, you don't have to say now feedback has ended. Now it's just that we are saying that we have to keep in mind that component of what they have to do in advance in the future so that they can do better. So I agree with you. Feedback will have feed forward built in if you're giving feedback in the real, because till today you perhaps didn't know what is feed forward and feed up. So really speaking, feedback, that big word, will encompass feed forward as well, ideally.
Dr. Selvam Ramchandran, I think from your institute,
Hello
Selvam,
how are you? Nice to hear from you.
Choice of participation in formative assessment. You want to know the choice of participation in formative assessment.
Choice, C-H-O-I-C-E.
C-O-C-H-I-O, choice, sir. I think he means choice of participation from the student side. Whether the choice of participation should be left to the student or it should be compulsory. That I think that's what he means. He has just written choice of participation in formative assessment.
Choice. I'll again go back to my story of surprise class test. How did I get almost the entire class was almost shouting and participating. They were fully active. The moment anonymity was told, hardly anybody, even the people who didn't want to get involved, were involved and drawn into the groups. So it will happen. When anonymity is there, it will happen. And the choice in the sense, the moment you say, unless you participate, you will not get credit, that risk is there. So really speaking, to a great extent, it will be voluntary. But what will happen is, by sheer contact or proximity, he or she cannot sit quiet because so much of activity is happening in and around him or her. So they will participate. If not, even if it's a nod of head, even if it is silent participation, that is good enough. Everybody need not shout all the time.
Dr. Suman Verma, she has asked how frequent a formative assessment should be and how to keep record of these assessments. I think you have already addressed.
I've answered that in the sense.
Yes, you've already addressed.
Formative, yeah, it's part of it, and no need to keep a record ideally. But if for some unfortunate reason an institution asks for a documentation of formative assessment, I think we must tell the institution that formative assessment need not, of course, it will be at the risk of your job, so better not. So anyway, really speaking, it is not needed. But if you need to conduct some formative assessments, do conduct it. But really speaking, it is not fair to ask because it is part of your teaching learning process.
Dr. K.V. Sharla Devi, pre-test of a session can be taken as formative assessment?
Pre-test is not, because learning has not happened. You are assessing prior knowledge. So you cannot call it, but post-test, yeah, today you're going to have something, you're going to fill up some
post-test question.
Or simple, but
with feedback.
Can I tell the secret, Dr. Jayaprakash Rajan? They need not get worried that questions they answer, they must be right. It is not pass and fail. It is based on their completion. Okay, they are required to complete the items that are there related to my session. And if you just complete it, irrespective of what you complete, it has no bearing on your certificate issue. Then, of course, certificate, if you need to get, you will complete that. That's all. So you need not pass or fail, that is not there. So the question there was, what was the question?
Can pre-test of a session be taken as a formative assessment?
Test, really speaking, cannot be, because it happens before the learn. We assume that some learning has taken and that learning you want to test. So then only it becomes So really speaking, no.
Can be considered as a diagnostic test, no?
Yes, you can call it as diagnostic.
Okay, sir. Then Dr. Prabal Bhargava has asked, can you please give us an example of assessment as learning? How different it is from formative learning? I think that's not.
Assessment as learning is something which I think Dr. Jayaprakash Rajan must answer, because
Actually, it is a higher order kind of testing, sir, which is aimed at it will help the teacher to understand whether the student has reached the metacognition or whether this learning has helped him to further his learning. I mean, the higher learning, that is lifelong learner. So that is the aim of assessment as learning. Suppose if I look at a student and then see his activities, I should be able to assess him whether he has the expected metacognition and whether he has the capacity to learn as an self-determined learner. That is the assessment as learning. Then the next question from Dr. Raksha Heber. Which category does end of chapter come into? Formative or summative?
Which one? End?
Which category does end of chapter come into? I don't understand what it is.
End of chapter come into.
Whether it is formative or summative. At the end of chapter, usually in books also we find some questions. They are all evaluative questions. No, sir? So he wants to know whether it is formative or summative. Dr. Raksha Heber.
Any test, it's the purpose for which you are using the test. Where the objective of using the test will determine whether it is formative, summative. If you're using the test to enhance learning, it is formative. If you're using the test to certify, to pass, to fail, to give a certificate, then it is summative. So when you do it.
Again, one more very pertinent question, very critical. If students are assessed often enough through formative assessment so that we are confident that all of them have adequate knowledge and all the competencies, including affective domain, have been certified, is summative assessment needed? If anyone wishes to know if they are the top of the class, can't they alone be given a separate assessment?
Okay, what you're saying is if formative assessments are done well enough, is it really necessary to have? It's a very, very nice question. If we can do that so well and train students in such a way that they become so good and we are confident of that, it's fine. But our issue is that we are not sure that we cannot ensure that every student will attain that level of competency. So we still need that ultimate certification, because we are releasing our students into society as health professional workers. So that certification is needed at some point. So you can't do away totally with summative in the circumstances that prevail today.
So Dr. Padmini Venkatesan has shared her experience. In our institution, feedback is given for summative assessment too.
Yes, you can give. You can give feedback for summative assessment, but then he or she cannot correct himself or herself. We can give, but then it's too late for him or her to correct. So some of these attributes which I gave for formative can apply to summative also. But please remember, it doesn't really become formative because the student cannot correct himself or herself. Feedback is too late. It is coming too late. It doesn't help him or her to become better or change for the future. So you can give feedback after the summative, but that it will remain there as feedback after the summative. It cannot become formative.
Which maxim is central to formative assessment without which it cannot be formative assessment? This is a question from Dr. Shivakumar J.
I wish I could answer that. I ultimately went by what the peer reviewers did, and we put facelessness as the single most important aspect, which is so unique about it, because we saw how the entire mood in the class changed when I went for the surprise class test. So I feel that is important. But again, I said all the 10 are equally important. If you can take care of all the 10, then formative assessment will be there in its full pristine purity and glory.
Yes, sir. There is a question from Dr. Dutimoy. Problem-based learning modules are being used as formative assessment activity in many medical colleges. Hence, my question on Can problem-based learning or case-based learning be used for formative assessments? If yes, what advice would you give, sir, to make such assessment really effective?
No, problem-based learning has got many approaches. There are several ways in which problem-based learning can be done. So it's difficult to generalize and say whether problem-based learning can be formative, because in our institution, we have problem-based learning, but it matters, it counts, it is summative, because we see how much they participate, how much he functions as a scribe, how much he is asking questions, how much he contributes. So several factors are there. So to generalize and say formative assessment is possible through problem-based learning will not be quite correct. We may need to, it all depends on how the whole thing is done. So if it is not going to count at all, it's just some discussion on a case without any any bearing on the scores, then you can call it formative. That is okay.
Dr. Rukmani has asked a question: how to motivate your own faculty to improve overall formative assessment? It's not individual effort.
Create an awareness. You can create an awareness about formative, because people have still not understood the concept of formative assessment. At least create that awareness and enjoy that formative assessment as part of the teaching learning process. I think it will be appropriate. It's just to create that awareness. More and more people, as they get aware, they will get involved.
Dr. Archana has asked a question on how to ensure that learning is facilitated in the passive learner and how to identify them.
How to facilitate learning in the passive learner
And how to identify them.
Let the passive learner be passive. Don't worry too much about picking them up, and they will learn. It is their style of learning. We can't expect everybody to be an active learner. Some students are comfortable, quiet, silent. That's fine too, so long as they are learning. So really, we need not worry about them being active in the sense you need not see the activity. They may be learning. You can see their performance, and then if you find assistance is needed, please provide. So don't judge them by the noise they make or the movements they make in a classroom.
Dr. Hasini Avinash, when we give feedback, we also tell students about areas of improvement. Does that mean feed forward is a part of feedback?
Yes. Answer is yes. Feed forward is part of feedback. If you have been doing that, it's wonderful.
Good. I think Dr. Chitramani from Apu Arivalayam, Konganabram, the place school where which you were mentioning earlier.
Yes, I have very fond memories of that school.
Dr. Chitramani. Should we consider different level of learners in a class while setting questions for formative assessment?
Okay. Different levels of learners in a class to be considered. Yes, we can, but what I'm suggesting is that you mix them, you give it as a group activity. If you give a group activity, you will get a mix of different types of learners. So they will learn from one another. So one suggestion is don't worry too much about having activities for slow learners, or have activities which are group activities. In the group, there will be some who are slow. It doesn't matter. They learn from one another, and they'll be more comfortable learning from one another. So plan those activities, and some will be simple, some will be higher level. Even if it is higher level, the students who are slow learners will learn when they are in the company of the other. Very good question. Really appreciate that question, Chitra. Really appreciate that.
I'll club some 2-3 questions, sir. They are similar to this because formative assessments are very flexible. When to be strict with students then?
Should you be strict at all? That's my question. What is strictness? I don't know. It all depends on how you, what is the idea of strictness. Strictness means what? If it is following the rules, yes, when we conduct summative examination, we have to make sure that there is proper spacing, invigilation, no malpractice. But in formative, such a question doesn't arise. So we really don't have to worry about that strictness in the sense you want regimentation in the manner in which they do it. exams can also be without regimentation that we have.
So Dr. Dyutima has said that whatever questions you are now answering is actually questions coming up from participants are reflecting what institutions expect from their faculty to implement. Right, sir?
Yeah.
So he has acknowledged that.
Yeah.
As MCA is asking for documentation of formative assessment in logbook and portfolios, how to do? This is a question from Dr. Manoj Patki.
Okay, I told you this is something. Okay, fine. Then you may need to have some activities which you document as formative assessment strategies, but no marks will be there. You have to say these were the formative assessment strategies. And let me just give me a second. I'll give you that article so that you let us know, those who are still there can. I'll just give you the reference of that article. It is on my, just a minute. Yeah, it is the reference 15 in my article on formative assessment. Reference number 15. Finley, dipsticks, efficient ways to check for understanding online. It's a, you can, reference number 15 in this article, which I have used in this presentation, 10 maxims for formative assessment. Reference number 15, Finley, Todd Finley, dipsticks, efficient ways. There are, he gives you several ways in which you can test a student's learning. So you can have a look at that. That's available online as well.
Dr. Vinola Doraisamy.
Oh yes. Oh, hello, Dr. Vinola. I came to your college. I'm so happy that you are here. Yeah.
Will self-grading by the students in formative assessments make it more meaningful to the students?
Celebrating. Yes, celebrate achievements. We.
Oh, so self-grading.
Self-grading. Okay. I thought
grading themselves.
Okay, self-grading is okay, no problem. They can grade and let you know. The idea is that grading itself is not needed, because at the end of it, they will know what, they'll feel bad that somebody's got a less mark or more mark. So grading, we need not always keep as a requirement for formative. The idea is what went wrong, why it went wrong.
There is a question from Dr. Padmini.
Yeah.
Now we are releasing people as passed with 50%. Are they really safe doctors?
I don't know whether I can answer that question. It is the pass mark itself. There is so much debate on it. So I think I will. It's not possible to answer that question because there can be several views on this. So we will leave it at that without answering.
And Dr. Sarasu from JIPMA. Formative assessment was exciting in the early stages. Now students feel burdened and skip assessment as it does not carry marks for internal assessment. Is there a solution? Very, very important. Critical
assessment for, this is the thing, assessment, if it is for learning, if a student wants to learn, he can participate. If he doesn't want to learn, there's nothing we can do about it. And let him know that this is my effort to help you learn. If you participate, I'm happy to contribute to your learning. If you don't participate, that is because they will eventually realize if they participate in the formative assessment, their performance in summative assessment will be better. That they will realize. So that is a message that they will get. If they find it meaningful and rewarding, they will come. And fun. If all those things are there, they will come. They won't feel threatened and they'll come. So.
Again, Dr. Dyutimoy has asked one more question. Compare and contrast continuous assessment versus formative assessment. Are these used interchangeably? Because different institutions use the two as a substitute for each other.
No, it is not to be, you have to make sure formative assessment will have no bearing on the final score, will have no bearing on the final certification. Formative assessment is only for learning, to encourage the learning. So that it is not what name we use, continuous assessment or internal assessment. It is simply that the objective for which you are using that assessment, that will determine it.
Can you please suggest an alternative term for slow learners? I feel it's not a fair term. Dr. Hasini Avinash.
We are all slow learners. I am a slow learner. When it came to technology, when everything came online, I was a very slow learner. I learned, I am struggling. In fact, yesterday I did so much of rehearsal with him and I still had doubts. Then I called him. I told him, see, I'm not able to click. So I'm a slow learner in many ways. So nothing to feel bad. We are all slow learners in many things. but we are willing to learn. That's enough. Willingness is more important than the slowness and the speed. So
He wants to know an alternative term for slow learning.
I don't know.
Maybe we can call students needing special attention.
Oh yes, okay. What you are saying, okay. That in that sense, okay, fine. All right, okay, fine. Challenged.
Challenge.
Yeah, we say that.
When we call the above average learners as gifted children like that, we can call these children as students needing special attention or something like that. Fine. Can mentoring sessions have a component of formative assessment built in? Again, a question from Dr. Dutymoy.
Mentoring, yeah.
Can mentoring sessions have a component of formative assessment built in? Of course.
It can.
It can.
But mentoring, of course, again, we never say that mentoring has started. We never know when mentoring happens. It just happens and it's all over. And then we say, he or she was my mentor. So we don't declare, we don't have a contract signed when we say, now mentoring starts today. Mentoring will end. That we don't have that contract signing with mentoring. Mentoring is something, no beginning, no end. It is continuous.
Yes, sir. There is a suggestion for the earlier question, how to call slow learners, rename the.
Very well.
Dr. Dutymoy has suggested willing learner. Dr. Shah has suggested lifelong learner. Dr. Dhanlakshmi has suggested they can be called as supportive learners.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, we can, whatever name. After all, name is just a word, so it doesn't matter. Ultimately,
Dr. Janith Berlin has suggested snacks, students in need of additional curricular support, a term used by Dr. Sethuraman.
Oh, snacks. Wonderful.
Snacks.
Oh, yes. Okay. Good. Very nice. Yeah.
Fine, sir. That's all till
I
now.
think we have exceeded. I think we
Yes,
have
sir.
gone
Yes, sir.
beyond.
So I think you have addressed almost all the questions. Some of the questions I have clubbed, sir. So it was a wonderful presentation, and we learned a lot of things from a person, an experienced person from you, sir. So I'm really proud to call you as a NTTC alumni, and so we want people like you to contribute more and more for such efforts. With this, I thank all the participants for being with us patiently and for being, and I thank our resource faculty, Professor Ramnaran, for patiently answering all the questions and for fully utilizing the time, sir. It was really a wonderful, resourceful, informative, and scholarly talk. So the best part of it that you answered almost all the questions. You addressed all the questions posed by the participants, both before
I tried to answer. I'm not so sure.
And asked by the participants at the time of applying and the questions in the chat box. So you very well started the presentation by citing the what does it mean to be what it means to be assessment and what are the different types of assessment with your own experience, classroom experience. And you rightly explained, I mean, you lucidly explained the 10 maxims, the principles of assessment. And you also, in between, you also conducted a assessment. I mean, you made the participant to involve. That is a model kind of teaching, sir, which we learned from you. So even when during the remote learning sessions, you have to use such techniques of involving the participants, give some small activity, which is also a kind of formative assessment. So that is a good thing, sir. So the take-home message was very clear. So I think all the teachers should now think of formative assessment, and they should think how they can use formative assessment rightly in their day-to-day teaching learning activities. And so definitely formative assessment will promote active learning, and that will also help the learners for long-term retention of what they have learned. So that is the take-home message. And no doubt, now this is the need of the hour that all our teachers should master the art and science of conducting formative assessment to make the teaching more effective, teaching and learning more effective. So, all the participants have appreciated your presentation, sir. So all have said it is an excellent presentation.
They are very kind and thank you so much. I enjoyed. I perhaps enjoyed more than they did. I enjoyed answering their questions and speaking to them.
Yes, sir. So thank you very much. I think if it could have been a two-hour session or more than that also, it would not be enough.
No, you must go when people ask, why are you going? Not why are you not going? You should leave when people ask why, not why not. But we have already exceeded by 45 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Patiently, people have, surprised that still 242 people are there. I thought some
Still 242 people are there.
you and me, I thought will remain. But
Yes,
I'm surprised that 242 are at least.
and many are watching through YouTube also.
Yeah.
So thank you once again, sir. Thank you very much. We are grateful to you. We are looking forward for more collaboration from you, sir. So JIPMER, on behalf of JIPMER, NTTC, and Department of Medical Education, we thank you very much, and I thank all the participants for taking part in this academic endeavor. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Jaiprakash.
So with all your permission, I am signing out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.